Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today we're going to be starting a brand new series, Is Eternal Life Desirable? Now, for many people, death is a deeply frightening prospect, and the possibility of eternal life in an afterlife or in this world is a monumentally enticing proposition. One of the biggest selling points of many religions is the idea that you will not cease to exist when you die, but your soul will live on forever. However, some philosophers, such as Bernard Williams and Shelley Kagan, have argued that true immortality is not actually desirable, and death is actually a really good thing. In this mini-series, we're going to look at Williams's argument, its implications on the case for an eternal soul, and some objections. This first video, is just going to focus on Williams's argument. So, before examining Williams's argument, it's important to make clear what it is not. This is an argument against the ideal form of eternal life, one where you have no disease or harm to kill you, you are surrounded by loved ones who will also live forever, etc. So this isn't an argument that says, well, if you get really old, your body is going to degrade and you're going to be in pain all the time and you're going to be really unhappy, or you're probably going to get killed in some violent way. This is not an argument. This is saying that you are immortal. Nor is this an argument about resources. We're not saying that, well, if everyone lived forever, we would run out of resources on the globe. We're imagining a world with infinite resources where people living forever does not reduce the total amount of resources available to others, and where you can continue to expand your mind and memory beyond current limitations. So it's not like you're going to run out of things you can remember or mental capacity. It's important to note this because Williams is not making the case that these things, any of these other kind of physical problems would be bad. He's saying that even if we give you all of that, eternal life is still not desirable. Williams is not making the case that outliving everyone you have ever known is bad, or that everyone living forever would deplete the planet's resources, or drive us mad because our minds can only hold so much information. Rather, he's saying that even if we had all of those good things, we would still not want to live forever. Now, he is making the case that even if you had all the things you could want out of an eternal life, it would still be undesirable because you would become bored once you accomplished all your goals, or change to have goals which are completely unrecognizable to your former self and therefore lose your identity and in a certain way die. This would leave you in a state where you would desire death. This argument has been fictionalized in many works, such as the final season of The Good Place, the Elves and Zachary Pike's Dark Prophet saga, Star Trek's Voyager's Death Wish episode, and many, many more. Those are a small subset. Williams divides desires into conditional and unconditional desires. Conditional desires are those that you have so long as you remain alive. You might desire shelter, water, or oxygen now because you are alive. But these do not give you a reason to live. You do not want to keep living because you need shelter. Rather, you want shelter because you want to keep living. These are contrasted with unconditional desires that are the things that make life worth living. Your life goals, like writing a book, raising a child, or finding a cure for a disease. Something that you would desire to continue on even if you didn't keep living. This is relevant to eternal life because you don't want to continue living simply to fulfill your conditional desires. You don't want to keep living simply so you can go another day to take a nap or to sleep. You want to live to fulfill your big lifetime goals. Simply surviving each day is not enough to make someone feel fulfilled. You need to have unconditional desires you are attempting to fulfill to make life worth living. However, while conditional desires can keep being fulfilled every day, unconditional desires are the kinds of things that, once fulfilled, cannot keep being fulfilled over and over again. If given an infinite amount of time, you will either fulfill all of your unconditional goals or give up on fulfilling them entirely, and therefore change your basic identity, or be so unhappy that you would wish death. Upon fulfilling or giving up on these goals, you will either have no goals and be bored and unfulfilled, or change your unconditional goals and therefore become someone that is completely different from your past self and in some way die and lose your identity. For Williams, your goals are deeply linked to your identity. If you completely change or give up on the unconditional goals that are central to who you are, it is as if your personality is dying and your identity is changing. If given infinite time, your personality will change an infinite number of times, destroying your identity completely over time. Therefore, eternal life will necessarily devolve either into boredom or into continuous destruction of one's self-identity, neither of which is preferable. To understand this, imagine you have the lifelong goal of writing and publishing a biography of Leopold Sédar Senghor. Your personality is built around this goal. You're a history buff, a West Africa buff, you read everything you can on the subject, watch all of the movies, etc. This is your personality, this is your identity, this is the hobbies that you do, this is what you spend your time doing. If given infinite time, you'll either accomplish this goal or give up on it. Once you accomplish this goal, you'll either descend into boredom or have a new goal that will change your personality. And if you never accomplish this goal, you'll give up on your goals and simply be very bored and have nothing to do, or once again, change goals and therefore change your identity and personality. Now, a naive response to this argument might be to claim that you could always set a new unconditional desire that was sufficiently similar to your original desire. Say, write a biography of someone else. The challenge is, even if we were to expand your goal to be write a biography of every African leader of the 20th century, you will eventually accomplish this goal. This is to underestimate the power of infinity. There are a finite number of African leaders of the 20th century that you can write a biography on, and you will eventually accomplish that goal. Your goal will get further and further away from the original identity. So you can further expand that. You can say, well, the 19th and 20th century, the 18th, 19th, and 20th century, and so on. Well, we'll do Asian leaders as well. We'll do European leaders as well. You can keep expanding it, but one, it will get further from your original goal, and two, eventually you will run out of people, and you will either be left in crushing boredom or give up on such goals and find something else. Another way to think of it is, so long as there are a finite number of possible goals out there, you will necessarily accomplish or fail at all of them and still have an eternity of time left to live. You could visit every single place on Earth, read every book, watch every movie 100 times over, 1,000 times over, 1,000,000 times over, and still have an eternity left to exist after you've done all that. So the argument might go something like this. Premise one, eternal life will lead to you either achieving all of your unconditional goals or giving up on them. Premise two, when you achieve or give up on all your unconditional goals, you must either find new goals or submit to an eternity of boredom. If you find new goals, you're giving up on things that are central to your identity, which is undesirable and tantamount to death. An eternity of boredom is undesirable, and therefore eternal life is undesirable, because all of our options lead either to eternal boredom or losing your identity, both of which are undesirable, and therefore any possible situation in which you have eternal life is undesirable. Now, before delving into the implications, let's look at some insufficient objections to Williams' argument. Imagine you're unconcerned about losing your identity and claim that many people change their goals over the course of their lifetime and are quite happy. In other words, premise three is false. This would defeat the argument, but I think Williams has an easy response. He might claim that even if you're okay with losing your identity, there are a finite number of possible unconditional goals, and therefore, given infinite time, you will accomplish or give up on all of them. So even if we accept that you can completely lose your identity, which is a big bullet to bite, but someone might bite it, Williams can make the case that there are a finite number of unconditional goals. So hinging the entire argument on the idea that at a certain point, you will accomplish all of the possible unconditional goals out there, and you will still have an eternity left to live. If, on the other hand, you thought that the process of repeatedly accomplishing the same goal over and over again would not become boring, i.e. deny premise 2 or 4, we might strengthen the argument from a different direction, making the case that at some point you perform the task the best it can possibly be performed. Every time you do it after that will pale in comparison, and you'll never be able to achieve that pinnacle because you've done it the best it can possibly be done. Since your life is infinite, you will have an infinite amount of time to reflect on the number of times you did the task less than perfectly. What do you think? Is immortality undesirable? We're going to look at, in this mini-series, a couple other things. In the next video, we're going to look at the implications of this argument for eternal life in terms of an afterlife and religion. And finally, we're going to look at some objections to William's argument and some reasons that you might doubt it. But for now, leave in the comments below, what do you think? Is immortality something you want or something you don't want? If it's something you want, why is Williams wrong? If it's something you do not want at all, is it because of Williams's argument or is it because of something else? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe, hit the notification bell if you like this video, you want to see more, or you want to make sure to catch the rest of the videos in this series when they come out. Watch this video and more here at Carneades.org, and stay skeptical, everybody.